I am Jorge Alarcón, founder and CEO of Aktiun, creators of the ChartFactor Toolkit, and this video presents ChartFactor Community Access, a collection of resources designed to speed up the creation of your next-generation data applications. First, we have ChartFactor Toolkit. You can download its community version using this downloads link. Next, we have the knowledge base. Here you'll find a wealth of information including installation, quick start, architecture, and the description of all components, including data providers, visualizations, and interactivity components. Next, we have live demos. This is a collection of approximately 30 applications that are actually running and that you can interact with. So for example, I'm going to open the range filter application and I can immediately interact with the range filter component. I can look into the code on the same page, and I actually can also open the application in full screen mode. Next, we have the community area. Here you can ask questions to the ChartFactor team directly, and you can also share your data application successes. And finally, Studio. This is a high-performance dashboard environment built on top of ChartFactor Toolkit. It helps you create data applications by acting as a container of ChartFactor components. Everything is a component and everything is exposed as code. You can export, share, and version control your Studio applications if needed. Now let me show you the quickest way to get started with Studio. Let's create a new app. First, I'm going to connect to Google BigQuery so that I can import our demo app. It can be any name here. The requirement is your project ID. If you don't have one, use the Google Cloud Console to create your project. Now you can browse your data sources, but first you need to authenticate. You may get a pop-up blocker message. If that's the case, just enable it for this website. As soon as you connect, you can browse through your project data and also available public data. Now, let's import our demo application. Here, you can access and modify the code of each component and use it in your own web and mobile applications. And you can also interact with the application to find insights. So for example, I'm going to drill into the fire incident group, and then I can see that the trend is actually growing. I can look into other widgets to see the hour of the day where these incidents occur, and the response time distribution, and where actually these events are happening, etc. I'm going to name my application London Fire Calls. Now let's create an application from the start. I'm going to click here on New, and I'm going to select a BigQuery data source that is going to be different. I'm going to select this time the New York 311 service calls. First, I like to know how many records we have in this source. I'm going to choose the KPI widget, and I'm going to use a default metric, which is count. I'm going to play, and I can see that I have almost 19 million service call transactions. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to put it here in this widget here. Okay, I'm going to now add a trend so that I can better understand this data source. I'm going to choose a multi-metric trend, and again, I'm just going to count the service calls. And instead of grouping by closed date, I'm going to open here the metadata information and select a different time field. I'm going to choose created date. All I need to do is click on it to copy it into the clipboard, and then I paste it into the code. And for granularity, I'm going to select month instead of year. I'm going to click play, and now I have trended the almost 19 million service call transactions. I will now connect to Elasticsearch running locally. Click here on Elasticsearch. Name it can be anything. The important part is the URL. And once I connect, I can open the different data sources available. I'm going to select the Logstash index. And now I'm going to trend it. I'm going to click here on trend. And instead of by message keyword, I'm going to open here the metadata information again for this index. And I'm going to choose tags. I'm going to here copy paste. And I know this index is just for 1 day. So for granularity, I'm just going to select hour. Okay, so that way it's expanded. I'm going to play, and I see here the different hours of the day for the log. And it's actually a bytes sum, the metric. All right, so I know I have several days here. So I'm going to put here start to select the 3 indexes that I have. And I have here the trend. Now I'm going to save. Okay, so now I have an application with 3 different widgets from 2 different data engines. I'm going to name it BigQuery and Elasticsearch. And finally, I'm going to show you how to import an application that you or someone else may have exported. So here I have the import option. I'm going to click here and choose files. And I'm going to select this Chicago Taxi Trips ChartFactor Studio file. Load it. And as soon as it's loaded, I can start interacting with the application. So for example, I'm going to select a different time window here. I'm going to drag it like this. I can remove the filter if I want to. I can drill in, for example, into a specific district to look into the communities. I can scroll down to look into other widgets to interact with them and find additional insights. In summary, we are very pleased to provide access to these ChartFactor resources. ChartFactor Community opens the door to a wealth of functionality that you can now use to rapidly create your next generation data applications.